All right, people of the internet, Retro here, and we have some major Hogwarts Legacy news to discuss. Now, if you're seeing the headlines, Hogwarts Legacy sequel confirmed, that is not the big deal here. We knew this was going to happen. They've already talked a little bit, kind of behind closed doors. The executives, they've been saying, you know, it's a very big priority. It's going to happen. It still isn't officially announced, actually, but we all know what's coming. Hogwarts Legacy sequel is going to happen. The far more interesting bit of all this recent information comes buried within this article that Jeff Keighley is linking to here from Variety. So he actually gives you a little bit of it right here. Game is planned to coordinate storylines with the upcoming Harry Potter HBO series, according to WB Games president David Haddad. Okay, that immediately caught my eye. And then once I actually got in and read this article, there is so much information here that I think we just need to break the whole thing down. So here it is right here. It's an article from Variety. Their headline, Harry Potter 2.0, how Warner Brothers plans to keep the magic alive with a new HBO series, video games, and pricey merch. And guys, seriously, if you are a Potter fan, if you're a Wizarding World fan, even just a Hogwarts Legacy fan, this is a really, really interesting article. So the beginning of the article here talks about the new Wizards of Baking show on Food Network, which I do think is going to be a pretty big deal for that audience. I could see that being very successful. But when it really gets interesting here is when they shift gears a bit and they start talking about the Harry Potter movies and the Harry Potter TV show that's coming. They talk about how Fantastic Beasts struggled, but then right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is where things start to get interesting. But Warner Brothers was encouraged last year by the strong response from Potter fans to the new video game Hogwarts Legacy, which wound up the top-selling game of 2023 and has crossed 30 million units sold as of last month. That's a new number, folks. We did not have that 30 million unit before now, but 30 million units, absolutely incredible numbers. And then I'm going to highlight this specifically because right here, it has awarded licenses for multiple mobile games to be developed based on the Wizarding World. Guys, that is games that are not already out. That is not Harry Potter Magic Awakened. That is not Harry Potter Puzzles and Spells. Those are new games that basically just got confirmed here. And then, of course, the big one. And Warner Brothers Games is at work on a video game sequel to Hogwarts Legacy, which is a, quote, very big priority, close quote, for Warner Brothers Discovery C-suite. And then they have fresh quotes from David Haddad here. We have known for some time that fans are looking for more things in this world, and so we're spending a lot of time thinking about that, says David Haddad, president of Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. So let's see what they're actually saying about this here. What insights are they gleaning? He says, our insights tell us that there are not huge distinctions between a younger version of a fan and an older version of a fan. They're just deep Harry Potter fans, and we try to build authentic experiences to delight them. So it's particularly interesting here that they are calling attention to the young fan and the old fan. I've talked about this for a while here on this channel. That is one of the biggest things that I think help stand out with Hogwarts Legacy is the fact that it could be enjoyed by so many different types of gamers, whether you're a hardcore gamer, whether you never played games before, young, old. That is one of the biggest things that they did well. So the fact that they're noticing that, and I think they're right. You know, it is one of those, and is becoming one of those timeless series. It is going to stand the test of time. It's going to be around many years after I'm gone, many years after you're gone. It's going to be one of those classics. It is. And it's going to just keep coming back. So the fact that they are trying to appeal to a wider age range makes complete sense here. And then they have this bit about Rowling, because it's like they always need to comment something on J.K. Rowling's status with the franchise, how much she's involved. But I do think there are some reasons it's interesting here. It says Rowling is not involved in managing the franchise, but WBD executives keep her updated via her literary agent. Wait for it, guys. Listen to this. If we're going to ever go beyond a canon conversation, we make sure that we're all comfortable with what we're doing. So essentially, and this is the Robert Oberschelp, Warner Brothers Discovery's head of global consumer products. Essentially what this is saying here is, yeah, she's not involved in all the day-to-day stuff, but anything big, she is going to have to approve, and anything that involves going beyond a canon conversation will certainly have to have her approval. But the fact that they're even putting that in there, what does that tell us? That tells us that they're having this conversation, going beyond what is already in canon. And you know, for years ago when they started the whole Portkey Games thing, it was created so they could tell stories within the Wizarding world and have a little bit of flexibility there. They weren't considered necessarily exactly part of the Harry Potter canon. Now, this makes me think possibly they're going in a different direction here, or maybe this is just a further extension of that, of saying, hey, the books are the books. You've got the canon there. If we want to do anything outside that, we can do it. Or it could be saying that they're going to incorporate far more properties, far more of these other games into the overall Wizarding World lore. And if we keep reading, I think we'll see why that is certainly the way that it seems to be leaning. Haddad says the games team has been coordinating some of the big picture storytelling elements in the Hogwarts Legacy sequel with the storylines that will play out in the Harry Potter HBO series coming from Warner Brothers Television. Okay, guys, this is the big one, and one that I'm seeing a lot of people freaking out about, and some people are excited about. First things first, though, I don't think we know exactly what this means yet. Some people are taking this to mean that they're going to be doing Harry Potter, and we're going to be having Harry Potter characters, and it's not going to be Sebastian and Natty and all the characters that we've come to know in Hogwarts Legacy, that they're going to be jumping to a completely different time period and maybe even retelling those stories in video game form, just like the TV show is going to do. I personally don't think that is what they're saying here. Now, I could be wrong, but the fact that they call it big picture storytelling elements. Okay, so storytelling elements, that could be so many different things. That could be themes. That could be specific lore items. Maybe there are things that they're seeing in that first TV series, which is going to be covering Philosopher's Stone. Maybe there are things there that they're like, okay, if we have some things in Hogwarts Legacy 2 that tie back to that, things that happen in Hogwarts Legacy 2 that relate directly to the events of Harry Potter, maybe at a time much earlier, that, I think, is where things are starting to trend. So, I mean, honestly, like, you guys are just getting my fresh, raw thoughts on that. Normally, we do very polished videos where I have all my notes. I just want to give you guys my natural reaction to all of this, because this could mean so many different things. They could do the story of Voldemort's rise to power. That's one option here. If they're actually going to tell a story leading up to the events that take place at the beginning of Harry Potter, that's a possibility. Or it really all comes back to this big picture storytelling elements. What do they mean by storytelling elements? It could just be similar themes of love and friendship and carrying those over into the Hogwarts Legacy 2 game, and then seeing those same things happen in the TV show. Now, as you guys know, I'll always be the first to say if I have some concerns, but generally, I'm a bit of an optimist. I like to look on the bright side of things. And if this means what I think it means, one of the things that we kept talking about in Hogwarts Legacy is we actually wanted more of the Wizarding World stories that we already know a bit about, but letting Avalanche expand on that even more. Instead of the Keepers, why not the founders of Hogwarts? Why weren't they able to tell those stories? So when you combine what we just read up here about going beyond the canon conversation, now with this, about them tying in some of these storylines with what's going to happen in the TV show, I think and hope that this speaks to Avalanche being given far more freedom with the story for this next game. We could essentially have a situation here where, guys, we talked about Dumbledore potentially arriving at Hogwarts in the next game. They were a little bit flexible with their timelines because they knew that eagle-eyed fans like us, if they put a specific date on it, we were going to start looking and saying, okay, well, if they do another game in the next year, then Dumbledore should be at school, right? But once you bring Dumbledore into the picture, that introduces some obviously big lore elements. So the fact that they now, it seems anyway, have some flexibility to go beyond the canon conversation here, and they're going to be tying some of these storylines in. My guess here is that Hogwarts Legacy will take place a few years later than what we had with in our first game, but it's also going to start to introduce us to more things that happen in book 1 of Harry Potter. Do they fast forward enough in time to where a young Tom Riddle is at Hogwarts? Like, do we see more with the Gaunts? Is it more instead about the founders? Is it more about Dumbledore? Like, is it more about we're going to be in school with Dumbledore and we're going to start seeing some seeds planted, some things that we know in the Harry Potter series happen later? There's just so many possibilities here, but I don't think this instantly means the bad thing that everybody's thinking is that all the Hogwarts Legacy characters are gone and we're moving to completely new characters. I don't think that's what it means. Of course, we still don't have any official and clear confirmation about what all this is. So that will definitely be something to take note of and watch as we go forward and learn more. That line, it's such an interesting line. I mean, we could talk about that. This paragraph alone, we could talk about for hours. Okay, so let's jump to this one next. He notes that the success of Hogwarts Legacy helped stoke confidence that the time was right to make a major Potter push. Quote, the rest of the company was very curious about what we helped unlock with Hogwarts Legacy last year. Like, it almost sounds like they were shocked by it, and that I hope at this point they understand why it did so well, because there seems to be, from that quote, it's like we were very curious. Very curious. Now, the other big question from this, if you're coordinating big picture storytelling elements in the Hogwarts Legacy sequel, are you setting that up to also release alongside or around the same time as the TV show? We know they're targeting 2026. They haven't started filming anything yet. We don't even have the official cast yet, so it's still going to take some time for that, but they're targeting 2026. So does that mean that we should pencil in Hogwarts Legacy, the sequel, for a late 2026 release date? I think that feels a little overly ambitious, but we got to remember, they have the baseline of everything there. They have, as long as they are sticking with the same Hogwarts and a lot of the same locations. Of course, they could introduce new locations as well, but they kind of have the bare bones structure of the game and how a sequel could potentially work. We've seen this throughout the history of video games, right? When you have everything running on essentially the same style that you already have in place, it's much faster to develop a sequel. That makes total sense to me. Even with that, though, 2026 feels a little bit too soon. But the fact that they're already talking about that, I mean, I think that might be what they're aiming for right now. So we shall see. All right, skipping ahead a few paragraphs, I think this one right here also has an interesting line in it. So they're talking about how Warner Brothers is going to profit from fans who love the classic Harry Potter material as well as all the new stuff. And then they're talking about the Dark Knight and how Batman has really stood the test of time. But then this line right here, how many different Batmans are there, he says. In time, he hopes fans will wind up asking one another, what Harry are you? Now, that, as someone who's like, you know, a longtime fan of the books, that kind of worries me a little bit. Like, but if they're wanting to turn Harry Potter into like a more Batman style character, and they've already talked about having the more flexibility with the canon and everything and going outside the canon, does that mean we're going to start getting more stories with Harry? And instead of worrying so much about, oh, this is J.K. Rowling's canon version of Harry Potter, no, this is just more of a retelling. I mean, how many times have we seen the story of Spider-Man told again and again and again, right? In different forms by different people. That's, I mean, I kind of squirm a little bit, but it's also kind of exciting at the same time. So it'll be super interesting to see what happens with that as well. Man, so much to discuss and talk about. I mean, you guys sound off in the comments below. Let me know, are you excited by this? Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you worried? Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Something in between. Let me know. And then check out this video on the left side of your screen next. YouTube thinks that will be a great one for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.